Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanachhalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्ते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये पंचकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरि बोल। हरे कृष्ण। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमद् स्वामी नामिने नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमति भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश कम करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानंद माधवं श्री चैतन्य ईश्वरं। हरि ओम तत्सत्। हरे कृष्ण। So thank you all for connecting. We are continuing our discussion on chapter 15 of the Bhagavad Gita, Purushottama Yoga, the Yoga of the Supreme Person. A very beautiful, profound, and very short chapter, 20 verses. Krishna willing, we will complete the discussion of the 15th chapter today. We are almost 3/4 of the way there. We have the last 5-6 verses which we intend to cover. A very quick recap. The Lord in this chapter is explaining knowledge about himself. Previously, in the 13th chapter, 14th chapter, the Lord described the framework of the material world. He described how the three modes are entangling the living entity by polluting his pure consciousness. And Krishna concluded the means of elevation to transcend the modes by saying that it is through Ananya Bhakti that one can transcend the three modes and achieve the supreme abode. In this chapter, Yoga of the Supreme Person, the Lord is very kindly further illuminating Arjuna. He is explaining in summary the nature of this material world in which we are trapped by giving a very beautiful example of the material world as a reflection of the spiritual world. He gives the example of Urdhva Moolam Adhashakam, where the roots are upwards and the branches are down, like a huge banyan tree. And through this beautiful example, Krishna establishes how this temporary material manifestation, even though real, is illusory because it's a reflection. A reflection is not unreal, but the reflection is dependent on the original. It is a copy, but it is not substantial. And what is the mirror on which the spiritual world is reflected as the material world? Anyone recollects? What is that reflecting element which causes one to be in the material world?
desire to enjoy.
Yes, correct. Thank you. So it is reflected on the mirror of desire. What kind of desire? Desire to enjoy independently of the Lord. See, in the spiritual world, you cannot go to the spiritual world, be with the Gopas, Gopis, Yashoda, and say, Krishna, can I also become God for some time? Is it possible today you don't go to Ras Leela, I will dance in the middle of the Gopis? Or, I want to be the hero. I want to be the focus. I want to be the center of attraction. So that is not possible because that is constitutionally impossible. Because constitutionally, Krishna is the Samam Bonam. He is the Vibhu. He is the unlimited Lord. We are all tiny specks from Him. We are fully dependent on Him. It is not that we are dependent on Him only when we are in the material world. And very beautifully later in the 15th chapter, Krishna explains, even in the material world, how we are so dependent on Him. At the cosmic level, the planets are floating because of Him. The sun and the moon are shining because of Him. Within the body, the digestion is carried out by Him. In the heart, from Him, the soul is being guided all the time. Matta smrita jnanam apohanam cha. Memory, forgetfulness, knowledge is coming from Him. So dependent. And Krishna is so kind, even though by having a material desire, we have chosen to come into this material world, Krishna is so kind that He hasn't abandoned us. Usually just see in our relationships in this material world. Let us reflect on ourselves. Let us not look at others. If somebody has spurned us, you understand the word spurned? In Hindi we say bhav nahi diya. Or, neglected, been a little harsh. Say, to hell with him, to hell with her. I don't want to deal. Such a nasty person. We turn away. Next time they call us also, we say, no, I was busy. I'll call you back. And then we don't want to deal with such persons. So easily we get upset, offended, isn't it? But imagine, and actually most of the times, in most of these relationships, it's not that these individuals owe us something great, that they should be, so obliged to us, that they have to be so nice to us. Of course, we don't have to be rude to anybody, whether we are obliged or not. That's a different thing. We should always be polite and respectful. It's okay to keep distance from individuals. I'm not saying that we have to be nice and close to everybody. I'm just giving an example of how, even within close relationships, sometimes if there is some friction of some sort, quickly we may turn our face away. But just look at it, how Krishna is responding. Krishna is the unlimited Supreme Lord, full of all opulence. And we are his very, very tiny part and parcel. How tiny? Like a drop in the entire ocean. Does it matter in any way? I mean, from a substantial perspective, not from an emotional perspective. From a substantial perspective, it doesn't matter. What does a drop matter to the ocean? The drop is a part of the ocean. The drop is coming from the ocean. The drop cannot act smart in front of the ocean. But we sometimes act very smart in front of the ocean. He has drops or sparks from Krishna. We try to act. We reject him. We say, who do you think you are, ocean? I'm the drop. I'm as good as you. Why? You should be worshipped. I also should be worshipped. I also should be hero. So just because the Titanic could sail in the ocean, of course, eventually the ocean destroyed it. But we think just because I'm a drop also, the Titanic can sail in my drop. It's just a drop. But still sometimes we become so crude and rash in our approach to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We reject him, we deride him. We think we are him. In various ways we spurn him and reject him. But even then, even though he, the Supreme Truth, has nothing to gain from us, he loves each one of us so much, irrespective of what we think, that he never ever abandons even a single jiva, no matter how much offensive, envious, demoniac the jiva may become. This is the unlimited ocean of kindness of the Supreme Personality of God. And that is what the Lord is explaining. He accompanies the jiva no matter what. He is so kind. He is so merciful. Actually, sometimes when we think and reflect a bit deeply on this, we'll realize actually Krishna is so accommodating, so accommodating. I mean, I often feel like that. Of course, with respect to myself, I just feel Krishna is being so kind to me undeservingly. Even though I deserve to be punished, Krishna is saying, Jane do, jane do, jane do. I know I deserve to be punished, but he's being so liberal, so lenient, so accommodative. Krishna is so unlimitedly kind. And that is our saving grace. Just imagine, for what we have done, if he were to reject us, we would have no hope. Because once we are in Maya, we are lost. But Krishna, even when we are in Maya, he never ever abandons us. He's always sitting in our heart. That's what Krishna is saying. Yes, you're in the material world, you're in this illusory trapped reflection. But still, I am managing all of this. I am there in the macro level, I'm at the micro level, I'm in your heart, I'm giving you knowledge, I'm there, I'm waiting when you will turn towards me. And the moment you turn towards me and if you surrender to me, no matter how much or what you have done in the past, no matter how sinful you are, I will destroy all your sins as soon as you take shelter of me completely. Just imagine who can be so accessible. This is like somebody telling you that no matter what you do to me, how much you beat me up, give me bad words, anytime I'm available. Whenever you want to come to me, you just call me. Instantly, I'll be there to help you in whatever way you need. And Krishna is not just saying that he is capable of helping in all ways. So it's just so amazing. And this is not imaginary. This is real. This is not some fantasy. Krishna is real. He's always there, fully available to all of us. So it's so wonderful. Krishna has also explained the supreme abode. He said, Arjuna, these three modes of nature you have to transcend by cutting your attachment with the sword of knowledge, with the weapon of detachment. Asanga shastrena dhridena chitva. The Asanga Shastra. And you will take shelter of me. And with that, you have to attain the supreme abode through the process of detachment from matter and through the process of attachment to him. Nirmana moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nityavnitta kama dvandva vimukta sukha dukkha samger gacchanti amuraha padam avyayam tat tatadbhasate suryo na shashanko na pavaka yad gatva na nivartante tadhamam paramam mama. Go to that supreme abode. Once you come there, you will never come back. Permanent destination. And then Krishna explains those who choose to remain in the material world. It's not that Krishna has forced us to remain in the material world. We have chosen. Sometimes we put so much blame on God for our situation. Not sometimes, most of the times. Our nature is like this. We blame God. Why you put me here? Why you did this? We are not realizing it's all our choosing. It is all our choosing, nothing else. Nobody else is responsible for where we are right now. The moment we understand this and accept this, We will be able to take responsibility for our condition and make positive, tangible progress. As long as we have a victim mentality, we cannot actually make progress. Oh no, actually, God, I am so wonderful. But because he did this, because he did that, because he's like this, like that, because you didn't do like this to me, you should have done like this, you should have helped me. No. We are responsible for where we are right now. And instantly we have an opportunity to get full help. It's not that we have to wait. The problem is we are not immediately able to take shelter. What to do? It's our problem. Krishna is saying, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayishami. Krishna says, doesn't say that you have to wait. You surrender, then I will wait. Immediately. Achirata. In another chapter, Krishna says, without delay, immediately I will deliver. Tesham eva. No, not that verse. There's another verse. Where it says, without delay, I will pick up those who take exclusive shelter. So Krishna says that other living entities, they continue to struggle in this material existence with the mind and six senses, and with the mind and the five senses. They continue to karshati, prakriti sthani karshati. They go from one body to another, carrying their material conceptions. Just like, what is the example? Anybody remembers? What is the example Krishna gives of how the conceptions are carried?
Just like the air carrying aromas around.
Yes, yes, thank you. Just like the air carries aroma from one place to another, similarly, the subtle body carries, along with the soul, all the impressions. Impressions includes the karmas, the desires, the tendencies, the propensities. And I had highlighted this and I want to highlight this again. The point to understand from this is, please do not think I am like this now in this life. In next life, I'll be born a good person. Nothing is going to change. Yes, you may get a better or a lower body based on your karma, but your mentality, your anger, your greed, your lust, your envious tendency, your frustrations, your desires, your attachments, also your devotion and your transcendental knowledge and faith, all of this you will carry as it is. Stop here, continue there. Some people think that automatically next life, I will be very wonderful. Nothing like that is going to happen. So please, anybody waiting for that, I'm telling you upfront, please don't disappoint yourself by thinking some magic is going to happen like that. No, the magic is already given. The spell has already been given. What is the spell to transform yourself? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Iti Shodashakanam Nam Kali Kalmashanashanam Nataha Parataropaya Sarva Vedeshu Drushyate. Brahmaji is telling Narad Muni, this is the means of transformation in Kali Yuga, to destroy all the kalmasha. Other than this, there is no other transformative method in Kali Yuga. After scanning through all the Vedas, I have come to this conclusion. So the point is, transformation is now. As we are jumping from branch to branch of this reflected illusory world, the escape route is by inner transformation. By removing the contamination of material desire, by removing the influence of the modes, through the process of detachment from matter and attachment to Krishna. And Kali Yuga, principally by taking shelter of the congregational chanting of the holy names. Bhajo Krishna, Kaho Krishna, Karo Krishna Shiksha. So beautiful and so simple. So at the end of the day, even if you don't understand and remember everything, just remember one thing. Wholeheartedly take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. Tasma deke na manasa Bhagavan Svatvatam Patihi Shrotavya Kirtitavya Dheya Pujyascha Nityada. Therefore, with one pointed, single pointed attention, Ekena Manasa, Bhagavan Satvatam Pati, that Bhagavan, who is he? What is his chief characteristic? Satvatam Pati, he is the Lord of the devotees. And what about him? Shrotavya, hear about him. Kirtitavya, glorify him. Jheya Pujya Shanitada, always meditate on him. Puja, worship him. Nityada, every day. Just go on. So beautiful. So very nicely in this chapter, if you see, Krishna is so beautifully summarized. And then, of course, Krishna explains how in this material world he is also present at the macro, micro level. We have already discussed this. And Krishna concludes this section by saying that by all the Vedas in this world, the Vedas I have given, and through all the Vedas, ultimately I am to be known. Vedesha sarvair ahameva vedyo vedanta krit veda videva chaham. I have given all these Vedas. I am to be known through the Vedas. I know the Vedas perfectly. Vedanta krit veda videva chaham. I know. Don't think I don't know the Vedas. I only created and I know it perfectly. And I'm also telling you, Arjuna, what is the purpose of the Vedas? Sometimes people become so bewildered by studying the Vedas, they don't understand what is the ultimate conclusion of the Vedas. What is the Veda Anta? Vedanta Krita. Krishna says, I have compiled the Vedanta. And that Vedanta is what Krishna is just about to explain. So the last 4 verses are Krishna explaining what is that conclusion of the Vedas that you have to understand. So nice. And Krishna has in very nice way summarized the process of Krishna consciousness or the summary understanding of his position very beautifully in the next few verses. So I'm going to complete it. Only 4 or 5 verses remaining. I just thought I wanted to summarize what we have discussed. So you have, I hope you don't feel my summarizations are too repetitive. It's always good to have it in perspective, because the thing is, unless we hear something 2 to 3 times, it doesn't sink in. So please do not think I'm speaking like this again and again because I have nothing else to speak. Not like that. Or I'm creating subject matter just to fill time. It's not like that. In Kali Yuga, nothing sinks in unless we hear it at least 3 times. Then it starts to sink in a little bit. And this, I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about all of us, myself included. So it's all very purifying to hear again and again. It is never a waste of time. So we are starting from verse 16. Dvau imau purushau loke sharashchakshara evacha sharah sarvani bhutani utastho akshara uchyate. Krishna starts by explaining the summary of the Vedanta by stating that in this existence, now he's talking about this material world, actually material, spiritual both, in all existence. Sorry, loke. He's talking about loke. Loke, of course, it can be both, but yeah, I think in this context it is both, because he says material and spiritual. Yes. He says there are 2 classes of living beings, 2 categories, Kshara and Akshara. Dvau imau purushau loke. The living entities are also Purusha in one sense. What is Purusha? Purusha means that person who has a tendency to enjoy. The Jivas also have a nature to enjoy. The Lord is Purushottama, Supreme Purush, transcendental Supreme Purush. And we are also tiny Purushas. But because we are so tiny, we can fall into one of the 2 categories, Kshara or Akshara. What is Kshara? Kshara Sarvani Bhutani. All the living entities in the material world are fallible Jivas, those who have fallen. Those who desired to enjoy independent of the Lord and got trapped in the material energy. So practically all, of course, there may be very, very few enlightened, pure, liberated souls in the world, but Generally, 99.9999999% of humans are conditioned. What to speak of living entities? This world probably, there are zillions and zillions and zillions of living entities, and you can probably count liberated souls on your fingertips. That is the condition of the material world. So you can say practically all. Kshara sarvani bhutani tastho akshara uchyate. But there is another kind of living entity who are akshara, infallible, which means who are not affected or enveloped or trapped by Maya. Tastho. Where are they situated? Not in the material world. Tastho. They are in the transcendental realm, the spiritual world. Utastha means they are situated in oneness on the platform of the Lord. Remember we discussed earlier, Krishna says on the Brahman platform. They are situated on the transcendental platform. Utastha means situated in the oneness of transcendence. Qualitatively, they are in oneness. They have not lost their individuality, but they are qualitatively in oneness. Every living entity is in the spiritual world, whether in Brahman or in the Vaikunthas or in Goloka, is qualitatively in oneness. Because there is no Maya. They are situated in the transcendental realm, free from the influence of the three modes. So Krishna says two types of living entities, conditioned and liberated. Both are souls. So Krishna says there are two kinds of living entities. Some are conditioned and they are usually in the material world, and others are liberated and they are in the spiritual world. Then Krishna says, and we'll analyze the whole thing a little later after we go through some of the verses. And instantly Krishna says, now many people are tempted when somebody says like this, many people are tempted, even so-called sadhus, saints, philosophers, new age gurus, they're all tempted. Yes, Krishna was also such a kutastha living entity. He was also a liberated soul. He spoke so nicely. They try to place Krishna in liberated soul. So Krishna immediately wants to clarify his position. Because Vedanta means understanding Krishna's position also and understanding our position also. So Krishna immediately after this verse says, Uttamaha purushastvanyah parmatmeti udaritah yo lokatrayamavishya vibhartyavyaya ishvarah. Besides these two categories of living entities, Arjuna, there is the third greatest living entity, the Supreme Soul, who's the imperishable Lord himself. And who's that Lord? He's the Lord who has actually entered into this whole existence, all these three worlds, and is maintaining them. Yo lokatrayam avishya vibharti avyaya ishvarah. He's the Lord. He's the maintainer. He's holding and nourishing everything. And he's neither Dakshara nor is he even Akshara. He's actually the source and nourisher of both. So Krishna has immediately said, I'm neither Akshara nor Akshara. Even the Akshara is not the maintainer of the world. He's also a Jiva. He's liberated, but he's still a tiny spark. The Akshara doesn't become the whole. That's why Krishna says, I have a separate identity other than the Akshara. Krishna is very clear here that after liberation, the Akshara living entity doesn't become God. And see in the next verse, Krishna makes it even more clear. Yasmat ksharam atitoham aksharaadapi chottamah ato asmi loke vede ato asmi loke vede cha pratitah purushottamah. Because I, Krishna is saying, I am transcendental and beyond both the fallible and the infallible, the Akshara and the Akshara. And because I am the greatest, I am celebrated both in this world as well as in the Vedas as that supreme person. Whom am I called as, referred to as Pratitaha, as Purushottamaha, as the supreme person, not liberated person, supreme person. I am beyond the conditioned soul. I am beyond the liberated soul also. Aksharadapi chottamaha. Don't think I am just a liberated. I am much beyond. That is why in this world and the Vedas, I am glorified as Purushottam. Please understand my position. So Krishna is highlighting his position very, very clearly. And that is one of the things that Krishna is saying, is because he's Avyaya, he is never influenced by Maya. He always remains as the Supreme Lord. He is Paramatma. He is Purushottama. He is Avyaya Ishvara. He always remains the Lord. It's not that he went and performed austerities and became God. God didn't become God. It is not that when Krishna appeared in this world, he had to perform some austerities, do some japa, do some tapasya, and then he got powers and said, yes, now I have become something. Even when he was a newborn baby, he sucked out the life air from Putana. He was always God. He doesn't need to grow up to become God. God is always God. Is never covered with illusion, no matter in what form he appears. And Krishna says, to understand what I just explained about my position, Arjuna, is very important. And he says, what is the result of understanding me like this? Yo mam evam asammudho janati purushottamam sa sarvavida bhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. He who understands me like this as Purushottama, just like what I just described now, asammudo, without doubt, not the doubting. Oh yeah, Krishna is saying, yeah, is he really God? Yes, he's just glorifying himself. Maybe he became too egoistic on the battlefield, and he's just using a metaphor. Actually, he is not God. This is how actually many philosophers and sadhus also interpret. That is the sad part. Krishna is saying, those who don't doubt me and those who know without doubt that I am Purushottama, Sa Sarvavid, he becomes a person who knows everything as it is. Sarvavid, all knowing. He understands my position, the position of the conditioned living entities, the position of liberated living entities, and their respective relative positions, and my absolute position. Sa Sarvabit Bhajati Mam Sarva Bhavena Bharata. Such a person naturally falls in love with me and worships me with all his heart. So when we want to cultivate spiritual knowledge, true development of spiritual knowledge culminates in this kind of love. That's what Krishna is saying. If you actually understand truth, Sarvavit, how do you know somebody has actually understood truth? He cannot but help but fall in love with Krishna with all his heart. He says, wow, you are so amazing, Krishna. You're so beautiful, you're so compassionate, you're so kind, you're so available. In spite of my rejecting you, you are still always there with me, always available, always helping, assisting me in all possible ways. Who can be more loving than you? You are like a mother, like a small child. Brahmaji actually prays like this. When Brahmaji, and I mentioned this earlier, I just want to repeat this because I find this very inspiring. It's very beautiful. Unfortunately, I don't have the verse by heart. In the Brahma Vimohan Leela, after Brahmaji steals the cows and the boys from Krishna to test him. And finally, he's bewildered by the Lord because the Lord replaces all of them with expansions of himself. Brahma is so bewildered by the whole episode, he doesn't know what is going on. And Brahma, who's actually a liberated soul, still he cannot figure out because the Lord's Maya potency, the spiritual Maya, is more powerful than Mahamaya. It even bewilders Brahma and Shiva. Finally, when he comes to his senses, he understands what has happened by the grace of the Lord. He surrenders to the Lord. And in the prayers that Brahmaji offers, and this is not you and me praying, Brahmaji is saying that a few very wonderful points he says. But one of the points he says is, one thing he says is, maybe others may think they know you, but I can say I know very little about you. You are so amazing. You're so wonderful. And he says that, please forgive my mistakes. Actually, you are so kind, you're so merciful. I was so offensive to you, not understanding your glories. But just like a mother, let's say a very small baby is sitting on the lap of the mother and drinking the mother's milk. At the same time, the baby is so small that the baby, as he's lying on the lap of the mother, is moving his legs around. And in the process, he's kicking the mother. We mothers can relate to this. The mother is feeding the child, but the same child who is drinking the milk of the mother simultaneously is kicking the mother as he's drinking the milk. But what is the glory of the mother? The mother overlooks the kicking and continues to feed the child. So like that, my dear Lord, please excuse me. I'm like that child. Please don't take seriously my offense. I'm a baby. Spiritually, I'm a baby. I thought I know you, but actually I don't know you. So just overlook. I'm just an insignificant living entity. I've just got a bit puffed up. So you are my father, mother, grandfather, grandmother, everything. So please excuse me. This is Brahma's consciousness. What to speak of us? So the Lord is so large-hearted. See, this is the beauty of the Lord. If anybody sincerely takes shelter of the Lord, immediately the Lord is so gracious. He immediately accommodates the devotee, overlooks the faults, and gives him an opportunity to come back to his grace without difficulty. So that is the Lord's nature. That's why all great souls are saying that once you understand the Lord's nature, he who understands the Lord's position, and understanding the position also involves understanding the Lord's so wonderful nature as the Lord of the devotees. He engages himself in full devotional service to me. So if you are not engaged in full devotional service, what does that mean? That means we have not sufficiently actually understood the Lord's glory. Isn't it? Because Krishna says, if you actually understand, you will take full shelter of me. Because you will see that there is nothing else to do. And there is no other hope also. So beautiful. And the Lord concludes the chapter by saying, Iti guhyatamam shastram idam uktam maya anagha tad buddhva buddhimanasyat Kritakrityascha Bharat. Beautiful verse. He concludes this section and this whole chapter by saying, this is the topmost secret I've explained, because this is the conclusion of Vedanta, this understanding about my position as Purushottama. This Guhyatamam, the topmost secret. Idam Uktam Maya Anagha. I've just told you this. I've just revealed to you this. Etad Buddhva, having understood this, person who's intelligent, when he understands this, he becomes krita kritya, he becomes perfect in his endeavors. Because if you want to achieve perfection, you must understand this. If you don't understand this, you can still, with some understanding, make some progress, but you cannot become fully perfect in your spiritual realization. That is why to understand Krishna, not just as Brahman, not just as Paramatma, but Purushottama, Bhagavan, as Sharopi Atitoham Aksharopi, that I am beyond both the Kshara and Akshara. Sharad api atitoham. I am beyond the Kshara and I am beyond the Akshara. You understand this position of mind that I am Purushottama. He becomes perfect in his understanding of the transcendental conclusion, and he takes shelter of me and loves me with all his heart. So Krishna is saying effectively in this chapter, this understanding is essential for taking shelter of me. So while for us as devotees, it may not be so important to get into too much of technical understanding of all aspects of jnana, but the sambandha jnana of the position of the Lord, our position and our relationship with him, that is essential. We call this a sambandha jnana. And this jnana will lead us to be convinced about the need to take full shelter of the Lord. So this jnana or sambandha jnana is not in the same category as the philosophical speculative jnana of the jnanis. That is the dry analysis of matter and spirit. We are not too keen on that. Although that is accepted and mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, that is not a part of the bhakta sadhana. Bhakta sadhana is understand the extraordinary position of Purushottama. Understand our position as a Kshara Jiva. Understand the glory of the Lord, take shelter of him. Live in this world with detachment and simultaneously take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by chanting his holy names, worshipping him, eating Krishna Prasad, taking association of devotees, studying the Gita and Bhagavad, spreading his glory, serving his devotees. In that way, we can lead a life which is Krishna Maya, full of Krishna all the time. And then, because we will become qualitatively absorbed in transcendence, at the end of our life, Krishna will say, why are you in the reflection? Qualitatively, you are already having the consciousness of the spiritual world. So when our transformation inside is such that at the end of the life, Krishna and material nature is actually no body in the material world matches your consciousness. Because all bodies in this material world are have a match based on the three modes, but you have transcended the three modes. So no matching in this material world for your body. So the only body that you will get is the transcendental body in the spiritual world, which is actually the manifestation of the soul itself. It's not an external body. And then we become transformed to the spiritual world. So the transformation or our transfer to the spiritual world becomes when our inner consciousness becomes like the consciousness of the Akshara living entities of the spiritual. That is the process. I'm mentioning this because this is related to the point that I mentioned earlier. Do not think that we will automatically become something after death. Where we go next and where our consciousness continues depends on where we left off when we leave this body. Okay, so we have come to the end of this chapter. I'm opening up the floor. We have 15 minutes. If there is any questions, any comments across this chapter or in general anything, since we have a little bit of time today, we can take. What is Samam Bonam? Sridhar Prabhu is asking. Samam Bonam means the final sum total. The Lord is the final ultimate sum total and shelter of everything. Because everything that exists comes from him. That's what he says, that everything comes from me, rests in me, dissolves in me, but I have my own independent existence. So that means essentially there's nothing beyond him. It doesn't mean everything is him. Everything is part of him. There's nothing beyond him, but he still exists as the supreme entity, independent. That's what he says in the 15th chapter also. Ksharo and Akshara both exist. They are part of me and dependent on me, but I exist as Purushottam. This is Vedanta knowledge. Do I answer your question?
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Okay, so wonderful. So since nobody has questions, I'm going to pick up a few of you and ask you to summarize the chapter. Okay, so I'm going to go around the table. Let me look at everybody. Pick any one of you and ask. I have summarized the chapter so many times. So, okay, I'm not going to ask you to summarize the full chapter, but I'm going to ask you to mention 2 points that you liked or that caught your attention from this chapter. Is that okay? Can I pick up? If you cannot tell 2, even 1 point is okay. So I'll give you a few seconds to reflect. Anybody wants to volunteer? You don't have to give a class, just very quickly 1 or 2 points, just mention so that others also can share what they have understood. I'm giving an opportunity for somebody to volunteer so that others can think about it. After that, I'm going to pick up individuals, especially those who are hiding behind black screens. I'm going to pick them up. Somebody disappeared as soon as I mentioned this. See, these are very scary. This is the scary part of the class. You should never be scared to glorify the Lord. There's nothing wrong. Yes, Sridhar Prabhu, you want to say something?
Like whatever you do, like Krishna still loves you, like heartedly, like he's very kind towards us.
Very good. Yes, Krishna loves us in spite of all our shortcomings. Thank you. Very nice.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, anybody else? Swatiji seems to be eager to say something.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, no matter what, God cannot abandon Jiva. Jiva
Yes.
can abandon God, but God will never ever abandon Jiva.
Very good. Yes. Thank you. Very nice.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes, Amit.
So the Lord, explains the difference between the material world, and stresses on how the material world is, just a reflection of the whole, how it is a temporary creation, and gives us the path on how to transmigrate and reach the spiritual world. And then, the Lord basically reiterates his position as the maintainer of both the worlds, the Samam Bhona.
Very nice. Yes. Yes. Actually, so beautifully in the 15th chapter, the Lord summarizes most of the philosophy and establishes position. Thank you, Amit. Shamalaji, why don't you say what you are typing in the chat? All want to hear your voice.
Hare Krishna Prabhu,
Yes.
that's what I get. We are the cause of our miseries, no one to
Yes.
be blamed but ourselves because we chose to enjoy separately from Krishna.
Correct.
And it's a big mistake I made.
We all made. Very good. See, so you have now come to terms that you are responsible. So that is what we want. Usually the tendency is, thank you, Shamalaji. Thank you so much. Usually, when we quote philosophy, the tendency of conditioned souls like us is quote the philosophy for others. Understand? You must accept, you must surrender. We are so busy trying to instruct others, we forget that we have to do it ourselves also. Of course, others have to do it also, but we have to do it. Good that Shamalaji is starting with herself. Thank you, Mataji. I'm also trying that I also can come to terms the reality that we are responsible for where we are. It's very important not to have a victim mentality, materially or spiritually. It's very important. Yes, anybody else? Let me see. Rita ji, would you like to share anything about what you have learned in this chapter? Rita Doshi. Hare Krishna.
Next time.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yeah, not today, surely next time.
Did you hear the class?
Yeah, of course. I'm
No,
here
no.
only.
Anything you want to share that you, just one line of what you remember from the class? Nothing philosophical you need to say. Anything which you heard, which has registered in your mind.
Like that we are only sufferer of our own what we do, and God is very kind to us. If slightly we remember, then also like God is very kind to us. Like
Very good. Very nice. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Very nice.
Hare Krishna.
Anybody else? Sapna ji, anything you want to share?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Can I
Yeah.
just share something?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Basically, ultimately, our relationship with the Supreme should be in the Bhagavan form rather than at the Brahman or even the what is that Paramatma one. And then second thing is that internal consciousness has to change. Once we change our internal consciousness, as you made the point that if you're asking what is next from here, but ultimately, end of the day, I think externally we might portray that we have changed, but then the real test comes internally, which I think many of the times I will also feel, because external wise we might portray something, but then the real test is internally. Can you what change? And once you already conquered that internal change, then I think there is much more. That is the ultimate test.
Yes. Thank you. So Prabhu mentioned a very important point, which is again another matter of reflection. So first is to accept, which we discussed earlier, we are in this situation because of ourselves, and ultimately it's an internal transformation. Of course, external adoption of various aspects of spirituality help to transform our internal consciousness. So we do adopt them. It is not that externals are not important, but doing externals only without an internal transformation is not going to take us anywhere. And that is what Krishna tells in the Gita also. Somebody who externally makes a show of practicing yoga, but internally remains attached to material enjoyment, is a cheater. Mithyachara sa uchyate. Because it's more about internal transform. And once our internal consciousness transforms, external situations automatically will follow. That is the reality. And follow in this life and follow in the next as well. And the essence of transformation is, in one line, is to detach from matter and attach to Krishna. What that means, in very simple words, it means where is it that we seek joy from? किन चीजों में हम आनंद ढूंढते हैं? What is it that we are trying to find joy? Some people are trying to find joy in material things. It's not that you have to be gross necessarily. Some people are sinful and gross, but even in subtle ways, people are still attached to just material enjoyment. Material relationships, material social settings, social interactions, comfortable life, going with friends and, finding joy in eating in restaurants. I'm not saying that any of these things is bad. What I'm trying to say is, if your conception of happiness goes only as far as this, then there is a problem. This is not what we want to seek joy from. What is it that we want to seek joy from? We want to seek joy, transcendental joy, in the platform of all things which are in connection to Krishna. Krishna, Krishna Katha, Krishna Kirtan, Krishna Seva, Krishna Prasad. And the beauty of Krishna consciousness is, within the realm of bhakti, all various aspects that we enjoy in a material setting can almost all be accommodated within a spiritual setting, in a spiritualized way. What does that mean? We like to see beautiful things. So we can engage that propensity in seeing the beautiful form of the deity. That's the reason I post so many pictures of the deities regularly. We want our joy to be in seeing that beauty there. We like to tour and go for holidays. We can go to holy dhams. We can go to, if you like a snow setting, go to Badrinath, go to Kedarnath, and go to these beautiful places, spiritual places. If you like places which have beautiful rivers, there are so many sangams of, prayags across the route of the Himalayas. Vishnu Prayag, Rudra Prayag. Some of these places are so beautiful. So it is both spiritually uplifting and also a very nice experience, even as a holiday or a trip in the association of saintly people. If you like to eat, how many of you like to eat nice, tasty food? You can give me a thumbs up. Whether, if you are shy, you can be shy, but I'm not shy. I can say I just love to eat. So I'm not shy about that. So we can engage our propensity to eat Krishna's prasad. And there are so many wonderful. Of course, we should eat in moderation. Otherwise, it becomes rajogun. But we can engage our propensity. If you like to sing, we can engage our propensity in singing kirtan. If we enjoy dancing, we can dance in kirtans. So practically all propensities, if you like social interaction, in temples there's satsang, so many devotees get together, they do sevas together, they cut vegetables together, they wash pots together, they dance together, they discuss together, they eat. So many opportunities for social interaction within a spiritual setting. So all these tendencies that the mind has to find some enjoyment in similar, these are in the reflected activities in the material world, in the reflection. But the real joy is in the original activity, which is similar as the reflected one in form, but in substance it is spiritual. And that is why it is not entangling, it is rather it is liberating. You understand what I'm saying? It is similar, but because it is not directed towards selfish enjoyment, it is directed towards the Lord and his devotees and glorifying the Lord and serving the Lord, it becomes purifying. Which means the same activity of eating, if you were to eat in a restaurant, may be entangling, but the same eating of Mahaprasad of Krishna is liberating. Singing film songs may be entangling, but singing beautiful Krishna Kirtan is liberating. Dancing in a disco is entangling, but dancing in Kirtan is liberating. That is the point. So slowly we have to transform our consciousness like that. In that way, we will gradually uproot our consciousness from matter, of trying to seek joy in matter, and rather seek. I remember this happened when I was there in my very early days in Krishna consciousness. Very early days. I was in my college that time, and I was the general secretary of my college, the head of the student union. So, of course, I used that position at that time to. I was not engaged in any social activities actually. I would let all my sports secretary and cultural secretary do all the other Rose Day and all the other days, whatever they would celebrate. So there was once one social event which was organized where there was a disco deck and there was a, all the students were gathering and dancing. So of course everybody had to pay and buy, but as the general secretary, I was given a free pass. Now, this is in very early days of my spiritual association. But somehow at that time, when this program was there, actually as the general secretary, I felt I'm the leader of the student. How can I not go for this program? But somehow it happened that there was a spiritual program which was clashing with the same program. So I was, really what I should do. But my heart was very convinced that I'm not going to enjoy in the discotheque at all. I don't not find any enjoyment. So I chose to, even though I had a free pass, I decided not to go and I went for the satsang. So my spiritual teacher at that time, he said, "Hey, how come you are here? You had told me that you have your college event and you have to go because you're the general secretary." I said, "Oh, I didn't have the heart to go there. I don't want to miss this association." So he was, of course, very, very happy. I mean, I did it naturally because somehow I felt more attracted and I was much more satisfied because I knew that I wouldn't find that happiness there, that I would find the happiness in the association of devotees. So what I'm trying to say is, when we make it an effort to always choose Krishna over Maya again and again and again, gradually we'll become firmly established in choosing the right thing. Okay? And that's a journey. May or may not happen immediately, but slowly as we progress, that is the direction. I see a question in the chat. Please describe potent and potency. Potency is the Shakti. And the Lord is the potent. Potent means he who is the possessor of the Shakti. Shakti and Shaktiman. Shakti is potency. Shaktiman is the potent. Who is the controller of the Shakti? He is the potent. So God is the owner, possessor, enjoyer of all the Shaktis, both material and spiritual. So he is Shaktiman. Okay. So Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha means enjoyer. So he is the Lord and Master of all the Shaktis, of all the Prakritis, both material and spiritual.
Thank you. I asked that question. Thank you.
I know. I saw you. Yeah, anything else? Anyone before we close? Did you like chapter 15? Please read through all the purports. I haven't covered all the points. Prabhupada has mentioned so many beautiful points. So again, a reminder, my classes are not a replacement for reading the book. My class is an appetizer to induce you to read the book. So I hope it is serving that purpose also. So you must think, if at all you appreciate the class, you must feel if there is so nice to hear 2% of the book, then how much nicer it will be if I actually read the book. So with that curiosity, should open the book and read. Okay, so thank you very much. Tantra Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada ki Jai, Samaveta Gaurabha. So I'll see you on Saturday. We'll continue our Bhagavatam discussion on Dhruva Maharaj's beautiful pastimes. Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare
Thank
Krishna,
you.
Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Thank you. And also all the class recordings are immediately available on YouTube. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. So that's why I'm not sharing. So if you want to re-hear again the class, or if you have missed, it's in the, if you subscribe to the channel, you'll immediately get a mail or a notification which gives you the link of the classes. So I made this arrangement so you don't have to wait for me to post the recording. Of course, it's a different energy to connect together, everyone. You will definitely be more benefited because even though we are physically distant, spiritually we are connected when we are discussing like this together. So it's a different energy. So always live connection is always encouraged. But otherwise, if you want to re-listen, then or you have missed, the recordings are there. I will post the link of the channel again. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe it. Then you will get notifications. And then you will have a link to the class, and you can also share the link with others.